Hey guys, I'm gonna talk to you about minority populations in India. Um, so here we go. Well, that's the map of India. You guys have probably seen this before. But so India is there's two different types of minorities in India. It's a very religious country, but there's also like a lot of, when you think of India, you think of like Hinduism, or sometimes you think of Islam, but there's a lot of other religions that are like minority religions. Um, but it's also we also have social minorities, people who are well, before now this is illegal, but so there was a caste system in India, and that was a very traditional system that would separate people in like a hierarchy of um, like how good you were, basically. And there are the lower castes. According to this caste system, there are the lower caste people who are minorities in India, who were basically treated very unfairly and still are to this day. So here I've like listed the two lower caste groups as the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes. And as you can see, they make up 16% of the population and 8% of the population, respectively. And I've also listed like minority religions in India, like Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, and Jews. And there are even other religions in India that are so small that they don't even make like a significant percentage of the population. So here are the major religions of India, and like a pie chart, so you can see how like small the populations are compared to like the population of Hindus or even the population of Muslims, just 13.4%. Like there's a tiny little slice for like Jews in India and a tiny little slice for Jains and Buddhists. But like even these small little like decimal percentages makes up like hundreds of thousands of people, because the population of India is huge. It's the second most populated country in the world. So even like 0.5% of people is like 200,000 people or whatever. So there's actually a lot of people who follow these different religions. And here's a map or two different maps of like major religions according like geographically. There are more Christians, as you can see, in like the eastern side of India. There's more Muslims in the north and northwest because that's closer to like the Middle East and Pakistan. But like, I mean, this is obviously they're not delegated to certain geographical areas. It's just like where the majority of the population is. But yeah, there's Christians all over India. There's Buddhists all over India, etc. So, but yeah, these are just like an interesting comparison of the majority of like what the majority of the population practices. And then, like I said, these are there's religious minorities, and then there's also social minorities. So as I mentioned before, there are two major groups of people who have been marginalized in India because of the caste system. There's the scheduled castes. They're called untouchables commonly. They're also called Dalits, but that is like a very politically incorrect term. It's not necessarily like rude, but it's just incorrect, and you shouldn't say that. So, like politically, they're called the scheduled castes, and the majority of these people are Hindus, but some of them also belong to other religions. So this is not like a religion-based like difference. This is because of their caste, and the reason they're in this like lower caste is because they have traditionally been the ones who have taken care of like cleaned up the wastes of other people, or they're like servants. They're they clean like the sewers, and they also take care of the dead, and they like prepare them for funerals or prepare them for cremation. And because of this, they're considered like unholy or dirty or untouchable. And like back in like even 50 years ago or 100 years ago, um, like people weren't allowed to talk to these people, and like the untouchables, they weren't allowed to look at them, touch them, talk to them. They were like basically unseen or ignored. But since the caste system has been abolished, they are more they're getting like more rights in society and stuff, but they're still very marginalized. They still are like delegated to these traditional jobs. They don't really get jobs. They like get like very low level jobs. They don't like get into like higher paid jobs or higher like or jobs that are like considered for like better or like more acceptable. And they are like there's like the education system is like biased against them, the workforce is biased against them. Even like religious places like temples or churches and stuff are biased against them. Like they just don't have many rights, but they are fighting. They're constantly fighting, and they're like putting on protests and like trying to get more rights in society. And then the other marginalized group I want to talk about are the scheduled tribes. This is the name given to various tribal groups and indigenous people of India before like the Aryans came in from the Middle East and like even from like I guess like Eastern Europe / Western Asia. There was like the Aryans who came in from that area into India, but before that there were like indigenous tribes, like how we would call like the Native Americans in America. And so these are various tribal groups and indigenous groups who follow their own religions. They follow like various religions. They all have their own like pagan religions, or that's what like they're called. And they're separate from the majority of society. They don't really like mingle with society. They don't really live in cities or anything. That you'll find more of them like in like rural villages and stuff like that. But they are also just as marginalized as the scheduled castes, if not even more. And yep. So these are some pictures that I have of the scheduled castes people, or the untouchables. As you can see, they like are also living in very rural areas, and they're very poor. They don't have many opportunities to get rich, like so, but they are living their lives.